Hello everyone, welcome back to another sewing tutorial on this channel. This is Joanne's Fashion View. Thank you so much for stopping by. In today's video, we'll be learning how to make a corset top with asymmetric hem. If this is what you're interested in learning, kindly watch the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe, like and share the video. So guys, let's get right into the tutorial. Okay guys, the first thing to do is to place your pattern on fold, and then on the pattern you come down by 1 inch to establish your shoulder line. This shoulder line is going to act as a guide for you to take your vertical measurement. So I'll go ahead and use my pattern master, or if you have a meter rule, go ahead and use your meter rule to draft a straight line on the pattern as you can see me doing. Then I'll go ahead and use my measuring tape to establish my vertical measurement. From the shoulder, I'll go ahead and mark my bust line, and then I'll also mark my under bust, the waist, the hip, and then the full length of my corset blouse. For this tutorial, the bust point is 11.5, the under bust is 15, the waist is 18 inches, the hip is 24, and then the full length of the corset blouse is 26 inches. Okay, so it varies for different sizes, so go ahead and use your own measurements if you are drafting with me. So the next thing I'll simply do is to establish my neckline. For this tutorial, my neck width is 4.5, and then the shoulder measurement is 7.5. From that point, I'll be coming down by 1 inch to establish my shoulder slant. I'll go ahead and link it up to my neck width, and then I'll simply go ahead and use this measurement to establish my chest line, which is my round armhole divided by 2, which is 9 inches. I'll come down by 9 inches, and then I'll link it up this way, establishing my chest line. Okay guys, so the next thing I'll simply do is to establish my armhole curve. Then I'll go ahead and mark the midpoint of my round armhole, which is 9 inches divided by 2, which is 4.5. I'll go in by half an inch, and then use my curvy rule to establish my armhole curve, as you can see me doing. The next thing to simply do, guys, is to contour your over bust and your under bust. For the under bust contour, I'll be marking a half bust span, which is your bust to bust divided by 2. For me, I have 4 inches, which is 8 divided by 2 give me 4 inches. I'm going to be marking 4 inches from my bust point down to my full length and link it up with a straight line. For the under bust, I'll be marking 1 inch on both sides, and then I'll link this point down to the bust, down to the full length of the corset blouse, and then contour it to the bust point, as you can see me doing. So guys, for the over bust contouring, I'll be contouring using the exact measurement of my under bust radius, which is 3.5. This is not a standard. You can either use 3.5, 3 inches, depending on how revealing you want your cleavage. If you want a complete coverage of the bust, use your measurement of your under bust. If you want it to be revealing, you come down a little bit by 1 inch or 1.5. So for the over bust contouring, I'll be contouring with 0.75, which is 3/4 of an inch on both sides, and then I'll be using my curvy rule to contour it to the bust point, as you can see me doing. For my neck depth, which is for the corset blouse, I'll be marking 9.5 inches. From that point, I'll go in by half an inch. I'll go ahead and draw a line, and then I'll link it with a curve to one part of my dart leg, one of the dart legs on the over bust. Okay, on the chest line, I'll be coming down by half an inch, I meant to say, and then I'll go ahead and draw a straight line, as you can see. This will enable me to draft the other side of my corset cup. But before doing that, I'll go ahead and establish the cup on this side, and then for the other side, I'll go ahead and mark 3.5 inches, which is the radius, add additional 1 inch, and then I'll go ahead and link it up to the line I drew below the chest line. I'll go ahead and use my curvy rule to draft my other cup, which is the cup for the other side. We should all have in mind that one side of the cup is broader than the other side. Okay, so having established our cup, I'll go ahead and draft the yoke. On the center front, I'll go up by half an inch from the 9.5, which is 9 inch, and then I'll link it to the neck width on the shoulder line. Okay, so this will enable us to draft our yoke. So this is the yoke, and then this is the cup well established on the pattern. The next thing to do is to take our body measurements, which is the bust. On the chest line, I'll mark the quarter of my bust. I'll replace the dart intake, which is about 0.75, and the seam allowance is 2 inches. I'll move over to my waist. I'll go ahead and place the quarter of my waist, the dart intake, and then the seam allowance of 2 inches. I'll do the same for my hip, the quarter of my hip circumference, the dart intake, and seam allowance. So I'll go ahead and use my pattern master. If you have a meter rule, go ahead and use it to link up the points that you established recently. Okay, so I'll go ahead and curve it, and then whatever measurement I have on the hip, I'll go ahead and place it on the full length. Okay, so this is what we have. The next thing to do is to place your bust dart. On the bust, you come down by 1.5 inches, which is the difference between your front waistline and necklace waistline. If it's 2 inches, you mark 2 inches, but for me, I'm doing 1.5. So I'll go ahead and cut out the excess pattern paper, and then we'll proceed to the next step. Okay guys, so the next thing to simply do is to use my tracing wheel to transfer whatever measurements I have or whatever illustration I have on this part of the pattern paper to the other side. Okay, it will make the drafting very easy and neat enough. Okay, you can choose to do it on one side, but I chose to transfer it to the other side. It makes it easier for me. So I'll use my marker pen to establish the lines. After tracing it, I'll go ahead and trace out the cup. I chose to use a free hand for this because it seemed to be a lot more easier using my hands to trace. You can also make use of your pattern master if you feel like. So I went ahead to use it to draft the straight line. After doing this, I'll go ahead and open up my waist dart to enable me close up my bust dart. Okay, you can choose to use your overbust depending on your style illustration, but I'm making use of my waist darts for this particular illustration. Okay guys, so I'll simply go ahead and use my masking tape to close it up. You can choose to cut it open before closing it, or you can just fold it this way and then use your masking tape to close it up. I'll simply go ahead and use my curvy rule to blend. You can see that it's not matching properly. To avoid gaping, just go ahead and blend it properly, and then use your scissors to cut out the excess pattern on the pattern paper. So it's very easy to achieve guys. I'll go ahead and cut out my yoke. You can see that the yoke is linked on both sides, so I'll fold it this way to draft the other side of the armhole area, and then I'll use my scissors to cut it out. So this is the yoke. The next thing for me to do is to also cut out the cup. Okay, remove the dart, cut out the cup. Just be very careful so that you don't alter the pattern. At this point, you just need to be very careful. Okay, so I'll do it on the other side, cut out the excess pattern, and then remove my cup carefully, remove the other side of the cup carefully as well. So guys, after doing this, I'll go ahead and use my masking tape to link this panel together. So the next thing to do is to relabel my hip line. You can see that I trimmed it off while cutting out the excess pattern. So this hip line is it's going to act as a guide. So from that point, I'll be going up by 3 inches. From the hem is 3 inches, from the hip is 1 inch. Okay, I'll take it again. I said from the hip is 1, from the hem is 3 inches. Then from this line, I'll be marking 5.5 inches, and then I'll go ahead and use my curvy rule to create a curve like so, linking the 3 inches mark around the hemline to the 5.5 inches I have on this part of the cup. This line here, I'll just link it up this way. Okay, and then from the hem, I'm going to link it up to the other side of my hip. Okay, so it's an asymmetric corset top, and this is what the hem will be looking like. So I'll use my scissors to trim out the excess pattern paper after drafting the pattern around the hem area. Okay, so I'm just trying to be very careful at this point. I'll trim out the excess and then use a masking tape to reassemble, to place this properly. Not reassemble, just place it properly. Okay guys, we'll simply go ahead to draft the back pattern. Back pattern is a lot more easier than the front pattern. It's just a simple back pattern with a zipper. So I'll come down by 1 inch, and then I'll also go ahead and establish my zip line by 1.5 inches. You can do 2 inches, but I'm working with 1.5 inches. I'll simply go ahead and establish my neck width, which is 4.5, my shoulder 7.5. From that point I'll come down by 1 inch, which we all know as the shoulder slope. Then from that point I'll go ahead and establish my round armhole, which is round armhole divided by 2 is 9 inches. I'll go ahead and establish a straight line, which is 9 inches straight line. And then I'll also go ahead and draw my chest line. I keep mentioning that your round armhole, your armhole establishes your chest line. I say it in all of my tutorials, and I'll continue to say it because we have a lot of beginners on this platform who are just knowing for the first time. So pardon me if I repeatedly say this all the time. So I'll go ahead and take my measurements, which is my waist and then the full length. Then I'll be using this pattern to establish my waist, okay, just to be on the safe side. I went ahead to use my front pattern to mark my waistline, as you can see. And then the next thing for me to do is I'm just reconfirming it, okay. So I just simply placed it again for us to see, to reconfirm that this is the actual waistline, okay, just to be safe. But if you're not going to be working with your waistline, just go ahead and mark your back waist measurement, which is 16.5. For me, you take your own measurement and mark there. So for the back pattern, on the zipper area, I'll be eliminating the zipper by half an inch. From the waist point, you go in by half an inch and link it upwards and downwards, okay. Then my neck depth is 1.5 inches. I'll go ahead and link it to my neck width. So the actual neckline for the back is 4 inches by 1.5. I'll go ahead and place my half bust span, which is 4 inches for my back dart. I'll be marking half an inch on both sides, okay, and then I'll be linking it up, okay, this way and then downwards. Please have in mind that this tutorial is basically for people who know how to draft a simple basic block. I think that's the beginning, that's the foundation. For the armhole, I'll mark my midpoints, and then I'll go ahead and use the quarter of my bust circumference to draft my armhole curve, okay. For the back pattern, you don't go in by half an inch, you just link it to the midpoint. This is what differentiates the front from the back, okay. So I'll go ahead and place the quarter of my waist plus my dart intake and the seam allowance, the quarter of my hip plus the dart intake. No, there's no dart intake there, I meant to say just your seam allowance. So I'll go ahead and link it up this way, okay. So like I was saying earlier, a simple basic block is the foundation. It makes the work a lot more easier for you to understand. On the hem area, this is the hip and the full length. On the hem area, I'll go up by 3 inches, just like I did for the front, and then I'll go ahead and curve it inwards like so, okay. Just curve it towards the center front. So the back is so easy. So I'm just trying to show you guys that the front and the back is properly matched, okay. So it makes the sewing easier and neater. So I'll use my scissors to trim out the zipper area, the zipper bulge area, and then trim out the excess pattern paper I have on the back pattern, okay. There are a lot of things that you can do. I keep highlighting that there are a lot of things you can do for your back. You can choose to use your panel. You can choose not to use a zip. You can choose to use a panel for it. So this is the front and the back. If you enjoyed the tutorial, don't forget to hit on the subscribe buttons. I have a lot of videos coming up. I have a lot of tutorials on my channel. Go ahead and subscribe, like, and share the video. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you. Love you guys.